It is deadline day in Major League Baseball. Will players be traded while games are being played on this Tuesday evening? Will they have to say their farewells in the fourth inning in the dugout, as we saw Christopher Morel have to do over the weekend for the Cubs as he was dealt to Tampa in exchange for Isaac Paredes? That is all that is at stake today, which makes the handicapping a little bit unusual instead of your usual full 15-game Tuesday slate in Major League Baseball. We start with a potential World Series preview continuing today in Philadelphia. The Yankees mashing 6 home runs last night in Philly for a 14-4 win over the Titans. The Phillies just 3-7 since returning from the All-Star break. They turn to Aaron Nola today. But on the other side, in this ace affair, it's Garrett Cole for the Pinstripes. Minus 118. Philadelphia, a slight home favorite at the bank today. The total is 9. We have seen a lot of line movement from the overnight numbers that you were seeing there earlier this morning on your screen. What do you make of all this market movement, DRS?
We had 18 runs yesterday scored in a pitching matchup that had Zach Wheeler coming in with like a home ERA of like 1.5. And you take a look at Heel, who's pitching much better, easily going over that number. You have similar conditions weather-wise today, 82 degrees with a double-digit wind blowing out to center field. If we are looking from a pitcher-to-pitcher matchup, theoretically, Aaron Nola is the better pitcher, at least over the past 60 days since Garrett Cole has come back. And also keep in mind, Garrett Cole, who did have a decent little stint of a couple games, got blown away in his last start. So he's looking for a bounce back. But also that Phillies offense is looking for a bounce back effort today. If we're going lineup by lineup, there's stars all across the board on both teams. One team is hitting. That's the New York Yankees. They crushed one of the best pitchers in baseball yesterday. One team is not. That's the Philadelphia Phillies. So you're measuring yourself. Can the Phillies hit Garrett Cole? Who's been struggling, not the Garrett Cole that we know. I would give a slight edge once again to the Philadelphia Phillies today, but these are hard ones. Sometimes you just go up against a team where it's like, we don't have our A game. It looks like the other team is rounding into form. So it's a tough handicap, but the Phillies are at home. Slight favorite. I would go that direction, but the total also is interesting. I told you yesterday, good weather conditions for hitting, great pitchers. 18 total runs. You're probably more likely to get runs today than not, so maybe an over as well.
DRS, Garrett Cole, of course, made his debut in the middle of June in this 2024 MLB campaign. Has only had 7 starts. In 2 of those 7 starts, he has faced the New York Mets in the Subway set. He has given up 6 earned runs against the Mets in each of those 2. In 4 of the other 5, 2 earned runs or less. In 3 of those 5, just a single earned run allowed. But of course, when you haven't started all that many games, the ERA is going to reflect those bad outings. He is 3-2 this year with a 5.40 ERA. Philadelphia needs to start their winning ways once again. Will the offense be on the uptick today for the Titans? Now we go to Southern California in a California rivalry between the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers. San Diego playing some great baseball since the break. Same for LA. They are 7-3 since returning from the All-Star break. Tyler Glasnow goes up against Matt Waldron. Glasnow and the Dodgers, a slight road favorite at minus 134 on the road in San Diego. Total at 7.5. What do you like tonight in this California clash?
Glasnow last 60 days out here, 63 xFIP minus, which is a very good number, and also in a pitcher's ballpark. You might be finding yourself saying, okay, if Glasnow's the best that the Dodgers have to offer, and the Dodgers are a very good team, why are they going up against the Padres, who have been playing better baseball, as you pointed out, Ben, but maybe not that pedigree pitcher on the mound that should be 150 or higher at this point? Well, the reason being is the Padres are playing very good, and also the Padres are at home. If we're lining up this team, too, because Matt Waldron will be on the mound, last 74 batters he's faced from the left-hand side, a 116 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 215. That's Ohtani, that's Lux, that's Hayward, that's Outman, that's Biggio in that lineup. So you're going to focus on the right-handed batters who on this season, Waldron has been really good against, Ben. A 129 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 288. But let's flip it over to the last 30 days. That completely changes. That 129 ISO power number, Ben, elevated to a 333. That 288 weighted on base percentage on the season, now elevated to a 491. I know it's a square play here in this environment. I'll trust Glasnow and the Dodgers lineup more so than Matt Waldron on the mound. That's the way I'd go in this one.
The Dodgers avoided a sweep in their weekend set against the Astros, had Monday off. The Padres nearly had a sweep over Baltimore in Camden, the O's taking the finale. San Diego had won 7 consecutive games, entering their weekend finale in Baltimore, now return home. The opener of a series yesterday in Wisconsin getting started with the Brew Crew laying it on the Braves, an 8-3 victory for the Brewers. They're a home favorite today against the Braves at -122. The over-under is 9. What's the play today between the Brew Crew and the Braves?
Yeah, not a lot to trust here with the Atlanta Braves just yet. I know they're getting some help on the way. I don't know if Jorge Soler is going to be able to get into that lineup and pay any dividends for them. But Bryce Elder will be on the mound, the right-handed pitcher. His last 45 batters he's faced, a 195 ISO and a weighted on-base percentage of 353. If you look at the season as it played out, 180 batters Elder has faced, a 160 ISO, which is okay, but an elevated weighted on-base percentage of 371. Now you flip it over and say, okay, what's the Atlanta lineup going to do against Joe Ross? No statistics over the past 30 days. On the season, he does have some decent numbers. But if we are looking at the lineup today, going up against right-handed pitching past 30 days, Riley is elevated, Ozuna's elevated, and Travis d'Arnaud is elevated here. The rest of that lineup, a lot to be desired. I know it sounds like a broken record on a day-to-day basis. We don't even have great pitchers here, but it's really hard to back an over and or the Atlanta Braves in this type of spot. I think Milwaukee probably picks up the victory, and I think this game probably stays under the total as well.
Yesterday, a slight over because of the 8 runs, a 3-run shot off the bat of Willy Adames. Jackson Chourio adding in a late 2-run bomb as well. Now let's go to a matchup and a midweek series that features 2 teams in the thick of wild card contention in their respective leagues. The Twins in the American League, the Mets in that very contested and tight race in NL wildcard contention. The Amazons, a slight favorite at home today inside Citi Field, -124. Total 8.5 yesterday. The Mets scored 15 runs to win 15-2 in the opener. Does the offense continue on this Tuesday evening at Citi Field?
They should score again, talking about the Mets, but let's focus on the pitching matchup here to start. Manaea, the left-handed pitcher, is going to be on the mound for the New York Mets. Past 30 days, 124 batters he's faced, a 165 ISO, very manageable. How about a weighted on-base percentage of 302? Very manageable. You also take a look at that Twins lineup that I do like, but against left-handed pitching, I don't like all that much. You take a look at Royce Lewis, Carlos Santana, and Christian Vasquez. Everybody else really struggling against left-handed pitching. Now let's go over to the Grimace Mets at this point. They've been having quite some fun here at the plate as of late. And also, David Festa on the mound. 43 batters faced over the past 30 days. Check out these numbers, Ben. ISO power number against, 463. Weighted on-base percentage against, 474. The New York Metropolitans again in the win column tonight for me, Ben.
I like that look for you, DRS. The Grimace Mets in this era, 28-13 since June 12th, a day that will be revered in Metropolitan history for a very long time. That's when Grimace threw out the first pitch at Citi Field. A proud organization, 16-8 in the month of June, off to a 16-9 start here in July with more baseball to be had. The New York Mets have been sensational here as of late. And, Donnie, I think it's a really interesting day for teams like the Twins and the Mets. Are they going to buy ahead of the deadline? Craig Mish did not break any news for us, sadly, during the daily basis. But before he departed, and, of course, Newswire coming up in less than 20 minutes, he said a surprise team to keep an eye on. He expects the New York Mets in the heat of a wild card race in the National League to buy at the deadline. We know Uncle Steve Cohen, the owner of the Amazons, has the largest pocketbook in Major League Baseball. Could be very interesting to see what New York does on this Tuesday.
No, it does. I'm interested. Again, there's going to be some surprise action. The teams that we always thought were going to make moves here. Just a few weeks ago, why would the Mets buy anything? And maybe talking about selling, Pete Alonso at the deadline. That's no longer the case. They're playing just as good at baseball as anybody. Certainly much better than the first place Philadelphia Phillies.
That is very true. More MLB plays up next. A midweek series continues under the arch on deadline day in Major League Baseball. The counter now just over 7 hours until the 6 p.m. Eastern Time trade deadline in the Bigs. Will the Rangers make some moves? The Cardinals have already made some acquisitions, acquiring Eric Fetty and Tommy Pham from the Chicago White Sox yesterday. The two teams face off once again today. Texas takes the opener in the Lou 6-3 yesterday. The Rangers were swept this weekend by the Blue Jays. They entered victorious in 5 straight, 7 of their last 9. So a much-needed win to start off this new week over the Redbirds yesterday. A road favorite under the arch today, Max Scherzer, who was brilliant in his most recent start last week, gets the nod once again today for the Rangers.
Yeah, how about this? Getting a little more length there from Max Scherzer. I think this is going to help them out. And if he get to the 6th and the 7th innings here, maybe there's something to the Texas Rangers bouncing back from that terrible weekend that they had. If we're just looking at pitching matchups over the past 60 days, XFIP minus numbers here, Scherzer's a 93. Very good. You take a look at Lance Lynn, a 109. That's above average. And also taking a look at Lance Lynn over the past 30 days, 89 batters that he's faced. How about this? ISO power number of 208, weighted on base percentage of 357. But let's do a lefty-righty breakdown here. Lefties, an ISO power number of 314 over the last 46 at-bats against Lance Lynn, and a weighted on base percentage of 459. Right-handed batters not faring all that well. So if you're looking to take a look and say, I don't want to bet this game just by side or total. Take a look at Corey Seager, 70 at-bats against right-handed pitching over the past 30 days, a 286 ISO and a 438 weighted on base percentage. It is Dinger Tuesday at the FanDuel Sportsbook. There's a legitimate chance Corey Seager gets a dinger tonight, but maybe an RBI option might be the best look there. I would still go, if you're just looking to take a side, I think you got the better pitcher right now on the Texas Rangers and Max Scherzer. I would go that way with that cheap price.
Corey Seager got the scoring started yesterday in St. Louis, an RBI double to open up the offense. A doubleheader yesterday at Camden Yards between the Orioles and the Blue Jays. High-scoring affairs in both. Baltimore takes game 1, 11-5. Their catcher, James McCann, got belted in the face by a pitch. His nose was going away. No nose should ever go. Was bleeding. Put a couple of tissues up there and stayed in the baseball game and caught behind the plate. What a warrior that guy is. The Blue Jays responded with a victory to split the doubleheader on a Monday, 8-4 in the second game. Are we going to see the offense continue? You would think probably not, with Corbin Burnes on one side getting the start for Baltimore. The O's now a full $2 favorite inside Camden.
By the way, certainly a tough guy award yesterday, but let's have some sanity within the organization for the Baltimore Orioles. The dude is a catcher, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball to the face, probably had a concussion, obviously not going to admit it, and the guy couldn't even see at the end of the game. Like, what are we actually doing at that point here? Just ridiculous stuff, but certainly a tough guy here. I mean, Ben, look, we can litigate it, you know what I mean? So down the road, McCann's probably going to make himself an extra $5 million on that game when he does say he has a concussion, or it comes up today, he's on the 7-day IL on that concussion list. Now, will the runs continue today? Probably for Baltimore. Bassett, not a great pitcher. Last 30 days, he's been hammered by lefty and righty batters. Yesterday, I thought Anthony Santander in game number 2 was a great look there for an RBI. He didn't get one, but through his last 71 at-bats against right-handed pitching, a 328 ISO and a 450 weighted on base percentage in the middle of that lineup as a switch hitter. I think he certainly does some damage. But we were talking about one player who maybe if Toronto was selling was Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He looks like he's ready to get back to his MVP quality self. Been torching the baseball as of late. 315 ISO and a 420 weighted on base percentage over his last 81 at-bats against right-handed pitchers. But granted, this isn't your normal everyday right-handed pitcher that you're getting on the mound in Corbin Burnes, which is why they're a $2 plus favorite at this point. Baltimore is going to win, but I do think we will have some offensive fireworks possibility here on the side for Baltimore. 83 degrees down there at Camden Yards, 9-mile-an-hour wind blowing out. We should get some runs from an Oriole perspective today.
We saw runs yesterday in Baltimore. We saw some runs yesterday in Boston. The Red Sox knock off the Mariners to start off their midweek set. 14-7, a football score, as Donnie Rightside shared earlier in the show. How about this? The Red Sox debut of one James Paxton, who, of course, was pitching for the Dodgers this year. His most recent start, his last start in L.A., was against the Red Sox. Wasn't all that bad. The Dodgers won that baseball game. James Paxton might come back to reality a little bit. If you are a Fenway fan, you are saying to yourself, guys, got an 8-2 record. We're winning this baseball game. We're booked as a home underdog against Seattle. We'll be good. But he's got a 4.4 ERA. He's 8-2 because he played in L.A. Will the good times continue for Paxton in Fenway?
I think the good times are going to continue for that scoreboard, which should get worked on today. 80 degrees out there at Fenway, 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing over the monster, and Paxton is a left-handed pitcher, which means Seattle is going to line up 9 right-handed batters to go up against him. And if you're wondering how Paxton has done over the past 30 days against right-handed batters, close to a 300 ISO and a 500 weighted on base percentage. Paxton, once again, just like every single time he pitches, is the worst analytical pitcher on the card. Now, you look at that Seattle lineup. It's not exactly murderer's row out there. You got Arozarena and Raleigh with really high numbers along with Garver. Everybody else has flat out stunk against left-handed pitching. But this isn't your normal left-handed pitcher. This is a terrible left-handed pitcher. So we should get runs today. And if you want to take a look at maybe a sneaky team total with a team that doesn't really have great bats, it just might be the Mariners today. It's a perfect matchup for them today to let you say score 5 to 6 runs if they can.
Seattle confounds me. They swept the White Sox this weekend. Great. We'll talk Chicago in just a moment. Outside of that, though, the Mariners have dropped 9 of their last 10 games. Speaking of Chicago, oh boy, will it be 16 consecutive losses for the White Sox against the Royals? Why can't I find it? There it is. Minus 190. KC, the favorite today against Chicago. 8.5 is the total. I wonder if Luis Robert Jr. is going to be there by the time this game takes off. I wonder if Garrett Crochet will be a member of Chicago by the time we reach first pitch, 8:11 p.m. Eastern time. Will it be 16 straight losses for the White Sox?
Yeah, it might be. And you're right about it, too, because the one thing we do have the deadline coming in at I think it's 4 o'clock this afternoon. So you will know who the players will be playing tonight. Let's just say if Robert stays. So he's not going to be pulled out of the game because the deadline would have already happened. But if he is gone before the game, I don't know how they score. The morale's got to be terrible in Chicago. There's no way. Like Michael Wacha should have an easy time with this lineup, and the Royals should get this easy victory.
Bobby Witt Jr., 2+ total bases, minus 180. 3+ total bases is plus 115.